did Judge Eileen Cannon in Florida just issue an illegal order to try to help out Donald Trump? Where does she have the jurisdiction to block the Department of Justice and Merrick Garland from releasing statutorily required special counsel final reports against Donald Trump? Is it an invalid order? What's the 11th Circuit going to do about it? And what's the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami going to do about it? What's the American people going to do about it? I cover it all on Popok Live. Take a listen. Special counsel's report. I did a hot take. I did a couple of them in the last couple of weeks, demanding that Merrick Garland, without haste, publish what I thought was going to be over a 500-page or more special counsel final report that he's required by law to prepare and provide to the Attorney General, and that the Attorney General should, under law, find that the public interest outweighs any other consideration and publish them. It can redact and black out a line here or two. But, I got the Robert Hur 400 pages of BS about Joe Biden, at the exactly wrong time during his candidacy, which I'm sure helped tank Joe Biden. And we might even have this Trump problem right now had that not come out. But that's for another day and another Popok Live. So I got that. I had to hear about Weiss's special reports and prosecutions and all against Hunter Biden. Isn't it remarkable that the only person that was facing jail of all the things that happened, of all the special counsel, is Hunter Biden? So crazy. But let's go back to special counsel report. So I was campaigning for that, beating the drum related to that. Now, I did recall that even though it's not a statutory requirement, that under DOJ guidelines, they have gotten into a habit, I think it's a bad habit, to turn over the draft report in confidentiality, privacy, to the target. So Robert Hur did turn over the report to Joe Biden's private counsel. And we just learned that Jack Smith did the same thing. I said Jack Smith was done with that report around Christmas, and I was right. I thought it was already up with Merrick Garland, and I was right. It's just this extra step that they took. And apparently Todd Blanche and a couple of others got into a room, a closed private room in D.C. without any electronic devices or copying, ability to copy, other than writing things out by hand. And we're given access to this report. It's 2 volumes. I think it's going to be like 1,000 pages more. And they saw it from January 3rd to January 6th. We just learned that in the last day or so. Doesn't surprise me, but I don't know why we have to be so gentlemanly and so kind. That's one of our problems as a party. But we did that. And of course, Donald Trump outmaneuvered, at least at this moment, Jack Smith. How? Because from having reviewed it, they took enough notes that they could draft a 15-page letter. But they choreographed this whole thing, and they used either willingly as a pawn or as a pawn who got duped, a federal judge down in Florida we all know by the name of Eileen Cannon. And what was the orchestrated kabuki theater here? Donald Trump is no longer a party to any of the Mar-a-Lago cases. Remember that Donald Trump got dismissed by Jack Smith 2 or 3 weeks ago after the election, both from the appeal that's up at the 11th Circuit on Mar-a-Lago. We'll talk about that in a moment. And from the indictment and from the whole Eileen Cannon case. 2 of the co-conspirators, Walt Nauta, the valet butler guy, and Carlos de Oliveira, the maintenance worker, are still in the case at the 11th Circuit. But Donald Trump's not. And he's not in the Chucking case either, because that got dismissed as well. But here's the choreography. They wrote a letter to Merrick Garland, Donald Trump's lawyers, Todd Blanche and Emile Beauvais, 14 pages. And they outlined all the reasons, all wrong, by the way, about why the special counsel's report should not be published. And I'll give it to you in a nutshell. And you'll see why Cannon gets brought in here as a co-conspirator herself, unwittingly or not. Their argument that prevailed with Judge Cannon is that the special counsel as a position, as an office, was illegally and unconstitutionally appointed by the Attorney General in violation of the Constitution because there was no Senate confirmation, and that he was funded inappropriately under other apportionment and other provisions of the Constitution because Congress didn't properly authorize the $20 million or so that Jack Smith spent. Both of those things are wrong and completely in violation of over 200 years of precedent when it comes to special counsel, special prosecutors, independent counsel, whatever you're going to call it. He's properly funded under a congressional authorization that dates back to 1996. And every court that's ever looked at it, including the United States Supreme Court, has said that the Attorney General has the power to appoint himself or herself inferior officers and attorneys under the office, which includes special counsel. But that's not what Eileen Cannon found, and she dismissed the indictment down in Mar-a-Lago against Donald Trump. So their argument is he's illegitimate, the special counsel. His indictment was illegitimate. His work was illegitimate and rogue. And therefore, follow this logic, the special counsel reports, closeout memos, are illegitimate and invalid and should never see the light of day. That's primarily their argument. It's a lot of immunity and presumption of innocence. They don't mention the statutes that deal with this particular area where it's already, the Congress has already balanced this issue out already. It's just their own made up law. And so they draft 15 pages, but now they got to figure out how to get this thing published. How do they get their 15 pages out into the public? And they probably thought, well, Donald Trump could post it on social media. Oh, I got an idea. We send it to Merrick Garland, and at the same time, we give it to Walt Nauta and Carlos de Oliveira's lawyers, and we tell them, we instruct them, because we're in control, to attach it as an exhibit to an emergency motion they're going to file. We're going to make them file. We probably wrote it for them with Judge Cannon and at the 11th Circuit, asking for an emergency stay that she should block the publication by Merrick Garland to the public of these reports because, as you found, Judge, he's invalid, unconstitutional, illegal, illegally funded, and the like. You get it, Judge. You're the only one who gets it. And so, to answer a question from some of my blue sky questions, why do they go to Cannon and not Chutkan? Why isn't Chutkan in charge of her end of the report? Because they got a federal judge to issue a block. Now, I have another argument. And so that was attached. I want to just complete the thought. That was attached. So now I have a copy. You have a copy. Everybody got to see in MAGA world Donald Trump's position. What the ruling by Cannon was, and then I'll tell you after the break why I think that ruling is invalid itself. And she doesn't have jurisdiction to enter this order. I'll leave that for after the break. But right before the break, let me tell you that she entered what she's calling a temporary stay, just enough time for the 11th Circuit, her bosses, to make their ruling on the emergency application made there, because it's up at the 11th Circuit about whether she was right or wrong, thumbs up or thumbs down, about the dismissal of the case because Jack Smith is invalid or a figment of our imagination. He doesn't exist. So she said, I'm going to grant the stay, and it will last for 3 days after the 11th Circuit finally rules on the motion, because really this is a stay that should have came out of the 11th Circuit. They've so far, at the time of this live recording, they haven't ruled yet. So she has, right now, it is blocked. She blocked any publication or distribution or leaking or mentioning of the contents of it to anybody outside the Department of Justice. Okay? So now we've got a federal judge. I'll go over whether I think that's appealable itself and whether she's justified and has jurisdiction over this issue or not. You know where I'm going with that. And then the 11th Circuit, of course, has to rule. Welcome back. I got a new show Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Midas Touch Network. We call it Popok Live, but I'm open to suggestions in comments down here. Leave me some ideas of some better names for Popok Live. Kind of came up with that on the fly. It seems to be working, but I'm sure the creativity of the Midas Mighty and the Legal AFers can come up with something better. Leave it in comments. And until my next Legal AF or Legal AF YouTube contribution, take a moment, hit the free subscribe button on our new channel, Legal AF MTN. I'm Michael Popok reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.